Hey, all you lovely people, thank you for clicking on yet another video. I really do appreciate it. As the title suggests, we're going to be going through a rundown of the deleted / extended content from Scream 6. This is a list that comes from Viewer Anon over on Twitter, but if you haven't seen it, I'm just going to run through it really quick. Before we get into that, two things. One, please consider liking and subscribing. At the point of filming this, I'm really close to the 1,000 subscriber mark, which is a big milestone for me. So if you could help me out and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that. And the second thing, spoiler warning. These are going to go into a few spoilers from the film. I know other creators on YouTube have just completely said screw it with the spoilers and are putting spoilers in the thumbnails and the titles of the video, but I'm not going to do that. If you haven't seen it, it's only been out for a little over a week now, so I'm going to give you all a spoiler warning. If you haven't seen it, don't listen to this. Go watch the movie, then come back and listen. If you have seen it, let's jump into it. Now, there's very few things, like Scream 5, there's very few things that were left on the cutting room floor. And I don't know if these things are going to be included in any physical media featurettes or if they're just lost to the cutting room floor. But here's what we got. Now, the opening scene between Laura and Jason was changed. When we see Laura gets the call from the guy's name is Reggie, and it's a photo of just some random guy with a dog. Now, initially, that was actually going to be a photo of Jack Quaid, and the contact was going to be saved as Richie. That's right, Richie from Part 5. I'm glad they changed this personally. I think it would have given the vibe way too early that the motive was connected to Richie. Obviously, when Sam and Tara get the call on the way to the police station right before the bodega, as soon as that came across, I'm like, okay, the motive is tied to Richie somehow. But if they had kept it in here, we're going to know from the very beginning of the movie, this motive is tied to Richie. So I'm glad they changed that. Now, another thing that changed in this scene was the voice on the phone. One thing that they did different than this movie that no other Scream movie has done, aside from Scream 3. Scream 3 is different because the voice changer could use different voices. So that's the only outsider in this group. But other than that, every time there's been a phone call between Ghostface, it is always Roger L. Jackson. He's doing a calm voice and then switches into the menacing voice. That's the way it always has been. But with this one, we get Tony Revolori on the phone. And at that point, you knew it was going to be him. Like, I knew as soon as I heard that voice, okay, Tony Revolori, that's him. He's going to be the one to attack her. When he goes into the alley, obviously it switches over to the classic Ghostface voice. But this was changed. That's right. Initially, it was the same as other movies. It was Roger L. Jackson doing the entire phone call. Personally, I would have preferred it the other way, because it would have given a little bit more mystique to the fact it was Tony Revolori. Like I said, I knew immediately it was going to be him who attacked her because I heard his voice. It was so distinct. If they had left it as Roger L. Jackson the entire time, it would have been even more of a surprise when he took off that mask. But what we got was still a good change up from the classic formula of Scream opening attack. So I am happy with the way we got it. However, that would have made me happier had they left Roger L. Jackson doing the voice the entire time. Now, on to the next thing. The extended scene apparently was the hotter, colder game between Jason and Ghostface, who he thinks he's talking to Greg, but apparently that scene was longer in the original cut. It just took him longer to find him, which I think would have been okay because we'd have gotten more talk with Ghostface. And I loved the cat and mouse effect Ghostface had on Jason at that point. Just the hotter, colder thing. I don't know why. It was really good to me. I think that's some underrated suspense from this movie. It's kind of overshadowed by the bodega and the ladder, but I think it was really good. I wouldn't have minded if they had extended that scene a little bit. So that was one extended scene that was included. And lastly, the only other thing we have from Viewer Anon is apparently there was a deleted scene of Detective Bailey finding Quinn's body. Now, in this scene, apparently Detective Bailey kind of orders everyone else out and says he's the only one who gets to touch Quinn's body, which, I mean, just throwing it out there, that's not how police work. He's not a crime scene investigator. He's a detective. That would be done by the crime scene people. So that's not realistic. Plus, according to some sources, the way the scene was shot, you never actually see Quinn's face in that scene. So it becomes really evident that it's not actually her, which spoils a little bit that her death was faked. So for those two reasons, I'm glad that scene was cut. You know, as I said, that's not how crime scenes work. The detective who's on scene first doesn't get to control who deals with the dead bodies. That's all crime scene investigators, not the detective. So I'm really glad it was taken out in that regard. And if it did spoil at all the fact that she faked her death, which was still pretty obvious. It was a Scream movie and she was attacked completely off screen. It's pretty obvious that she's not really getting attacked. Anyways, that's all the deleted / extended content that we're given so far. Now, this is from Viewer Anon. They're, I would say at this point, like a 98% reliable source. But take it with a grain of salt. There could be more, could be less. If 5 was any indication, we got barely anything that was removed from the film. So I don't think we're going to be getting that much in terms of special features. But if we do, I'll happily watch it. However, I'm okay with the way the film turned out without these things. All right, y'all. Thanks for sticking around through the entire video if you made it to this point. Once again, if you could like and subscribe, that would greatly, greatly help me out. Other than that, have a lovely week and be safe.